Alright, good dispositioning of the sun, everybody, and happy May the 4th. May the 4th be with you and all of that. To get our Star Wars celebration out of the way, because, May the 4th is Star Wars Day, we are ranking and reviewing every single lightsaber duel in the Star Wars movies. Now, I am not saying every lightsaber moment, because I would sit here forever and never get this done, and I'm only including movies because, again, I would sit here forever and never get things done. So, hope you can at least agree to that term and condition. And I'm talking about the movies that have, and what it counts as a duel. A duel implies that there are two characters with lightsabers, such as this and this, and they clash with the express purpose to hurt the other person with a lightsaber. That is what I'm counting as a duel. So under these explicit conditions, we have 18 lightsaber duels to talk about. All right? 18 duels, 10 movies. Yes, 10, not 9. The 10th movie is the Clone Wars movie. So let's start off with number 18, in my opinion, the worst duel in the Star Wars series. Rey versus Kylo Ren at the Death Star wreckage in Rise of Skywalker. I don't like this, and I don't care for it. There's Leia Ex Machina because she died, and is using every cliche to get me to care, but I just don't. The biggest thing I can remember for this fight is that Rey is fucking retarded for using reverse grip. There are two movie things that they do with swords that I hate. That's using reverse grip because it would never actually work, and trying to spin. We'll get to spinning later because spinning actually does have some niche uses, but reverse grip is really, really that bad. So the fact that Rey even attempts it should have automatically led her to die. Yes, that is how bad reverse grip is. In a normal fight, she should have automatically died. But I just don't care, just don't like it. Let's move on to number 17. Rey versus Kylo Ren Kijimi. There. Rise of Skywalker. I don't like the dyad and the Force idea, but at least they actively tried to do something with that, being the background changes, although all it is a change of background. I guess the one thing that happens because they're swapping is that Vader's helmet pedestal gets destroyed. This applies to the other fight too, but the swings are clunky. They're swinging their sword to mostly swing it, and they just so happen to clash, and I guess the intent is there. And I know lots of people like to talk about Kylo Ren being emotional man baby, but in this movie it's really Rey. And to quote Hugby when it comes to Rey's parents, I don't fucking care. Yeah, I just don't care about Rise of Skywalker at all. It's my least favorite Star Wars anything. Let's just move on to stuff that I actually do want to talk about. And stuff that I actually have things to say. Being number 16, Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul, The Phantom Menace. Yes, this fight is really only 30 seconds long. It does serve as Darth Maul's introduction, which, considering hindsight, is great. But outside of that, can you really remember this? I mean, I bet a lot of you for like a split second when I said it was, thought that I was talking about their fight with Obi... Thought I was talking about the Naboo fight. And we're getting to the Naboo fight way later. But their initial clash on Tatooine is just nothing to write home about. And that's just because it's 30 seconds. What can I really say? There's that I haven't already said. It's a 30-second fight, then Qui-Gon dips. I don't really know, man. I don't really know. At number 15, Luke versus Kylo Ren, The Last Jedi. Listen, I know it seems like I'm coming off as a sequel trilogy hater, but trust me when I say you won't be seeing the sequel trilogy again for a long time, and it does have one more duel. There's a duel that I really like from it, but anyways, let's get to the point. Little nitpick. Why isn't Luke allowed to use his green saber? Yes, I get that this is like Force Ghost Luke, but still, like, why isn't Luke allowed to use a saber? Like his green one? It wouldn't be that hard. The main reason this fight is down so low is not just because Kylo Ren is using reverse grip, and as we all know, reverse grip is fucking retarded, and it's even worse with Kylo Ren because of his hand guards, which, if he goes wrong with reverse grip, congratulations, the second someone hits him with this while he's holding his saber in reverse grip, that hand grip is going into his wrist, and he has officially lost use of his hand. So, this is retarded. Don't you do that. Anyway, I do kind of appreciate Kylo is the only one who has footprints, because Force Ghost Luke and all that. And he had a fear factor, but now that he's like emotional crybaby child, he doesn't have that anymore. And yes, I get that the whole point of this duel is not exactly for the sake of combat, because Luke is just trying to distract Kylo to let the Resistance get away and prove a point, but this is something on duels, and I don't like it. And there is one more duel where I know combat isn't the point, and it's even shorter than this one, but still, at least that one had like other things going on for it. This is just my own critique. The other duel, the other duel with combat not being the main point will come up later, and I'll explain myself, but my opinions are my opinions, and you watch this video to watch my opinions. Thankfully, we're in a capitalistic society, so you're free to leave. There's nothing stopping you. Anyway, number 14, we have Luke versus Cave Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. Only 3 swings, which is not much in the terms of combat, but again, combat isn't the point. The point of this scene is to be about mystique. The mystery of it all. Because Luke chops off the head, and right there, under the mask, is revealed to be Luke's face. Subtle foreshadowing of what happens later in the movie. And I have to point this out. In Empire Strikes Back, all throughout the movie, when we see Darth Vader on screen, we hear the Imperial March play. But in this scene in particular, there he is, he's on the screen, but the Imperial March doesn't play because it's not the real Vader. I actually respect the hell out of that, and I think that's very clever and cool and stuff. So yeah. Now we move on to the duels I have positive things to say about. All of this beyond on this point I've had mostly negative things. I think from here on I have, well, maybe not, but I've definitely got a lot more positive things to say. And at number 13, we have the Council versus the Senate in Revenge of the Sith. I shouldn't have to explain the joke. It's the Council because there's 4 members of the Jedi Council, and at this point, Palpatine says, "I am the Senate." This duel is so down low because at the end of the day, these two are useless. Kit Fisto, I guess, exists, but then is immediately killed, and it's just Windu versus Palpatine. And the sword fighting between these two kind of feels clunky. I get that they want Samuel L. Jackson to have an action scene, and the Emperor to have an action scene, but it just feels kind of clunky, man. I'm not the biggest fan of the fight choreography itself. Do kind of like how we get to see how his face got so warped, evil, and twisted, and that's because of Windu. And I will give Windu his credit. Had Anakin not stepped in, Windu would have won. If this choreography was less clunky, this fight would definitely, duel battle, whatever you want to call it, would definitely be a lot higher on the list. But as it stands, this is where it stays. At number 12, we have Obi-Wan versus Ventress from the Clone Wars movie. First off, all praise to James Arnold Taylor is due. He's my favorite person to touch the character of Obi-Wan. Because I really like his voice and the banter is on point. And this is Clone Wars animation. When it pops off and is really good. Now that being said, this fight reeks of stop and go. There are so many times in this duel where one of them will have the upper hand, they do not, but Obi-Wan gets in his one-liner, and then we can keep moving. Like, it stops, gets in the one-liner, goes. Stops, gets in a one-liner, goes. I don't like that. I don't know. No. And this fight also has something I want to remember and mention pisses me off. I'm not sure if any other fight before this really has a moment like this. Well, actually, aside from this one, and yeah, no, aside from this one, which is that Obi-Wan is disarmed, right? And this fight, it's the most egregious example of Obi-Wan being disarmed. Because at that point, you think, okay, villain, take advantage of the fact that your opponent is disarmed and can't fight you. What do you mean you stop, let him get in a one-liner before you swing? If they are disarmed, there are two things that both sides should be doing. The villain, the person who still has their lightsaber, should immediately swing for the kill. I don't care who you are, your opponent has no means of defending himself, do not give him the time of day to get it back. And the person who has been disarmed, you need to get yourself out of range of the lightsaber duel and get your weapon back before they can get in close again. That is exactly what should happen. Do not try to pull some Matrix bullshit off on me. That is actually one thing I will give this duel. Not this. What was it? I don't know. One of these duels has a scene where like the lightsaber goes flying, and I will give them credit that they don't stop to have banter. But this is the most egregious case of opponent is disarmed, and one combatant is disarmed, and the other one does nothing to capitalize. Fucking capitalize, people. You gave yourself the advantage. It's not dishonorable to take advantage of that when you yourself put them in that bad state. But Clone Wars animation is Clone Wars animation. If it wasn't for the stop and go nature of this fight, this would be a lot higher. And we're going to see a duel that's a lot higher than this coming up. But at number 11, this is a new duel we have to talk about, and that is Obi-Wan versus Vader in A New Hope. It's the first lightsaber duel, so I have to give it credit despite the fact there isn't as much crazy things going on. Hindsight doesn't help this duel because we've seen these characters both do a lot more powerful things, especially in the case of Darth Vader, who has more duels after this in this state, who has done crazier. Obi-Wan becomes a Force Ghost for this duel. I get it, but like I don't get why. And I do like how realistic it is in the realm of sword fighting. But I want you to check out Star Wars Scene 38 Reimagined, which is right down here. They redid the duels with the hindsight in mind. It's very good. This is the first ever lightsaber duel. I have to give it credit for starting lightsaber duels. But outside of that, I don't really have much else to say. Aside from check out Scene 38 Reimagined. That is amazing. But let's move on to the top 10 duels in all of the movies. We've got some heat to talk about soon. So let's get started with number 10. Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Yoda versus Dooku in Attack of the Clones. So remember how I said the other thing I didn't like in movies is when a character with the sword spins for no good reason? Anakin spins for no good reason, and Dooku doesn't capitalize on the fact that Anakin showed him his back. But whatever, twirling looks cool. I don't like Obi-Wan going down too easy, especially considering what he went through in the previous movie. But so whatever. That's not the real highlight of this. Side note, RIP, this the owner of this green lightsaber, because remember, these lightsabers are being borrowed after the Battle of Geonosis because these two don't have any. So, sorry, guy who had this green lightsaber. They really broke it. The real highlight of this is Yoda v Dooku, because we get to see Yoda be flipping and Yoda be taking out Dooku. Although I'm gonna count it against him because Yoda, you with your flippy tricks and moves, I'm more surprised you don't try flipping, jumping to his back and getting a back shot and getting him in the back. You don't do that. Why do you not do that? You're flipping around and you're doing things. Go to his blind spot and try and take him down. I like this fight, but I think it's just doing too much to look cool, if that makes any sense. Anyways, at number 9, Finn and Rey versus Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens. When I was making this video and I got to this part, I was not expecting to like this duel as much as I did. It's nowhere near my favorite, but damn, it is good. First off, Kylo takes advantage of the fact he has a desabered opponent. My goodness gracious. So in the duel, Finn and Kylo Ren are fighting, and as soon as Finn gets in damage, Kylo Ren decides to stop fucking around. He gets rid of his opponent's lightsaber, and he does not give Finn a chance to recover. He just slices him in the back. Fucking good job. This should be the standard, not the exception. And Kylo Ren has his hand guards. In real sword fighting, hand guards are there because the most important place to not get chopped is your hands. Now, yes, I do understand why it's kind of dumb when Kylo Ren's, because Kylo Ren's is lightsaber beams that could easily be destroyed and destroy him. But he's using his hand guards offensively. There's a clever use. You can see for it right there. I like Finn says, "Come and get it," and then he runs to like almost give it. And despite Kylo Ren's injuries, this movie makes it clear that Finn and Rey never really stood a chance. But the biggest thing going for this fight right here is that there is solid choreography. These characters are swinging their Rey might not be swinging her sword realistically, but she's never had a day of sword training. Kylo Ren is swinging his saber realistically. Like, that is how you would swing a saber in an actual fencing tournament. Why didn't they keep this energy for the rest of the sequel trilogy? That's what fucking astounds me about these about 18, 17, and 15, was that this duel set the bar so high. I like this duel a lot, so why the hell could the rest of the duels not keep this up? I don't know, man. I don't know. So let's move on from that question and talk about number 8. Anakin versus Dooku in the Clone Wars movie. I'm just gonna be real here. This is the level of... This is just Obi-Wan versus Ventress, but if they decided to speed up the pace of the fight, and it works out so much better for it, as emphasized by its significantly higher placement. The animation, still on point, it's Clone Wars. The fight pacing, so much better. The only time it really stops is when Dooku thinks he's won, only for it to be revealed that it's a bait and switch from Anakin. So the stop that this fight has significant reason for it. I am significantly less pissed off that this fight stopped, because this fight had a reason to stop. It was super justifiable rather than one-liners. It's just a solid duel. I can't really say much more. Good Clone Wars duel. And this is less of the Clone Wars movie. It's just, the rest of the movie duels are amazing. And coming in at number 7, Obi-Wan versus Grievous in Revenge of the Sith. Hello there. I like Obi-Wan, but man, does he have a crappy track. Like Obi-Wan, but in Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones, his duels against Dooku does not do him any favors. Thankfully, Grievous does, despite the hilt inconsistencies. So, alright, when I say hilt inconsistencies, I need to point this out to you. So first things first, movie magic. This is just Obi-Wan's lightsaber, and this is just Anakin's hilt, right? And then you cut away to this scene, and you see that this is his right, and this is still his right. Now all of a sudden, this top blade, which is Obi-Wan's hilt, is now Anakin's hilt. And this bottom blade, which is Anakin's hilt, is the random guy's hilt from episode 2 that got destroyed. I get that it's movies, and they probably weren't expecting people to pay attention, but it always bothers me to see that the hilts change what they are every single time. There's like not as much attention to detail. And I have to say, Obi-Wan dismantling Grievous is satisfying, even if it makes me pay attention to the hilt inconsistencies. But the big reason that it's kind of up here is just how it ends. Because this goes from a duel to a brawl, as both of these guys lose their lightsabers, and just Obi-Wan resorts to opening up his chest and shooting him. In his own words, it's so uncivilized. But it's unique and gives a really good feel to it, and I kind of love it for that purpose alone. But coming in at number 6, we have Obi-Wan and Anakin versus Dooku in Revenge of the Sith. I don't like that Obi-Wan goes down pretty easy, especially considering what he survives in Phantom Menace, and what he wins in Phantom Menace, and what he wins way later on. But Obi-Wan is not important to this duel. This is really more Anakin versus Dooku. And Dooku's death. The choreography gets significantly better when it's one-on-one. I have to give it that much credit. But when Anakin cuts off Dooku's hands and has Dooku's lightsaber, I love this oh shit face. Like, even he's not expecting his own death here. There's Palpatine's iconic, "Do it. Screw it, Anakin, just do it. Fuck, you blew it, because you didn't do it." But the big thing I like is when, like, he takes the lightsabers, they're in the X shape, and he beheads Dooku. That sounds so right and wrong. That's a good ass sound, and it's always stuck with me. That I don't know how to make it, but that sounds just always stuck with me. It's a good duel. It sets a lot of the mood for the movie, and I think it's significantly better than Dooku's first bout, even if it's more embarrassing for Dooku. But now, ladies and gents, here we are at the top 5 duels. From here on, I had some difficulty picking, but I'm pretty confident that in my order and my opinions. So now, let's do this. At number 5, we have Yoda versus the Emperor in Revenge of the Sith. Duel of Fates makes a return. My second favorite Star Wars battle song, even though it's most people's favorites. And I'm not sure if this is really true. Someone can probably explain this to me better than I can, but it feels like of all the environments, the council room is somehow the one where the fighters interact with the environment the most. Now, I know that sounds insane because there's a duel coming up that environment plays a big part in, but I more feel like these guys interact with the council room more than that these two interact with the council room more so than ever. A big thing this fight has going for is kind of like what the Grievous one had with Obi-Wan and Grievous, that it starts as a lightsaber duel, but it devolves. It devolves into something so much more, which is a force battle. We see Yoda get to make the lightning ball and fire it back at Palpatine. We see the council chambers being thrown at each other. It's just a good fight. But I think the other 4 fights above it are just better. And speaking of which, number 4, I'm gonna get some flack for this one. Number 4, we have Luke versus Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. I will give this some massive step up in quality, because it deserves their respect. It is an absolutely a massive step up in quality as compared to the first duel in the first movie and the first duel in this movie. I like that Luke is on the defensive okay, hold on. Sorry, this is bothering me. There. Luke is on the defensive almost the entire fight. As soon as Vader comes back, and every time Vader does come back, it pushes Luke more and more into the defensive. And the second time Vader comes back, it turns into a horror movie for Luke. Great choreography for the time, and the force push went. Bless. What am I trying to say? Um. Oh yeah, the main part of this that everyone remembers isn't the duel itself. It's "I am your father," and that's what this is building up to. Granted, very good, very nice, but I'm rating these based off of combat. And even though this has some damn good combat, if combat's not the biggest thing, then you're not going to get first. Or above the next duel, which is number 3, Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. I'm going to start with the one... How did that end up there? I'm going to start with the negatives. This is how Star Wars should have ended, but this is not this movie's fault. I get why Luke throws his lightsaber away, it's to prove a point, but I've never liked Luke doing that. That being said, here's where everything is so good and why it earns the number 3 spot. The parallels to the Empire fight. Both times, Vader's on the offensive and Luke is on the defensive. But in Empire, Luke is on the defensive because of desperation. He's nowhere near ready to take on this fight. He was warned, he still took it on, and he was lucky to make it out alive. This time, he's ready for this fight, but he's on the defensive because he wants to convince his father to join the light side again. Cool, good parallel. And I like how honor-bound we have Luke. Like, Vader's doing nothing. Vader's taunting to get to Luke isn't working when he's directly taunting Luke. It's when he gets his friends involved that it starts to work. Like, that's when Luke goes in the offensive when he mentions Leia turning. It's a good fight, much more solid choreography, and the beat down at the end where he cuts off the hand and just the struggling breathing. Great. Amazing. Love it. Palpatine, you're not defenseless. I never liked that you said you were. You had Luke's lightsaber and you had his father at the ready. And even when he does strike you, Vader goes in to protect you. It's almost like you knew you weren't defenseless. But Luke versus Vader: Return of the Jedi is my favorite duel of the original original trilogy. We have only 2 more duels, so coming in at number 2. Oh boy, I think when I made this video, no one was curious about the top 2 because they instantly knew what they were. And number 2 is, of course, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace. Duel of Fates makes its debut. A great, great song. This duel showed what the prequels could do, and holy hell was it amazing. Like, it's even more amazing when you realize that the Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul one-on-one was slowed down. Not sped up, it was slowed down to make it seem more realistic. Maul's double-bladed lightsaber might not be the most practical thing, but it looks cool as fuck, and it helped him hold his own in a 2v1. But my personal favorite part, aside from... Well, I'm looking at his face, and I was like... he looks so kind of stoned here. It's like, or he's having a revelation as he's dying. Which, by the way, Qui-Gon dies. I don't know if you know this. But my favorite part of this entire duel is the laser field scenes. I like getting an introspective on how every character reacts when they're stuck behind lasers and they can't continue the duel. How Darth Maul is angrily pacing back and forth, ready to fight at a moment's notice. How Qui-Gon just sits down and meditates. calming and collecting his thoughts, and Obi-Wan is twitchy and impatient, ready to run back in. Only for poor Obi-Wan to get caught twice in the fields and have to watch Qui-Gon die. Good fight. Really amazing. Set the prequels up for success when it came to duels. And it's a damn shame that there's only been one duel that has ever been able to top that in the movies. Everyone knows the second what I'm talking about. This is my favorite thing in all of Star Wars. Obi-Wan and versus Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. So this movie's exactly a year older than me because it came out May 19th, 2005, and I was born May 19th, 2006. So, this movie can officially drink alcohol. It's 21 years old. Isn't that weird? But anyways, Battle of Heroes is amazing. It's my personal favorite fighting theme. There's the high ground. You know, you gotta acknowledge the memes. And I do like that they always have Obi-Wan on defense because of how aggressive Anakin gets. The story significance really carries this. It's very solid choreography that I like looking at. My biggest nitpick is the choking scene. You know, when like Anakin has Obi-Wan on the table. It's like you see him right here. Obi-Wan's trying to hold this to block him, and then it cuts, and then it's Anakin's hilt. Hilt inconsistencies be damned, though. Fucking impressive fight. All the praise in the world, all the praise to Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen are deserved for this. They were amazing. Absolutely love this movie. Absolutely love this fight. Fantastic. The best duel in all of Star Wars, and I don't think anyone's really willing to disagree with me on that. But if you're willing to disagree with me on other things, comment them down below. Because I probably pissed a lot of people off with my rankings. I know how some Star Wars fans can get. But anyways, that's gonna do it. You know the drill. Yada yada blah blah goodbye. Happy May the 4th.